Right. So I was born in California, in Santa Monica, and I've just always been interested in codes and ciphers since I was your age. I would find the crossword puzzle magazines that would have a few codes in them, and I just loved working on them and logic problems. And then we fast forward to when I'm a grown up, and I was speaking about my job, which is I make computer games. And I was speaking about my job at a big convention in Atlanta called Dragon Con. And at Dragon Con, which has thousands of people, there was a group that had a code challenge. And there was a prize, but no one had cracked it yet. So it had been a year, and they were handing it out at Dragon Con saying, who can crack this code? And I thought about all the puzzles I'd done when I was a kid, and I decided to take a look at it. And I looked at it in different ways than some of the other people at that convention, and it took me a week and a half, but I cracked it, and I won a prize, which was a free trip to the convention and a free food and free hotel and free travel and everything. And then I went around this circle of conventions cracking all their codes. And I cracked so many, I was banned from competition. Like when they released a code in Atlanta, it was on a sheet of paper, and at the bottom of the paper it said, note, past solvers are ineligible for prizes associated with solving this code. Give someone else a chance, Elonka. So I cracked that one too. And then September 11th happened. And it was a horrible day, and I was wondering if I could use my skills with codes to help out with the war on terrorism. Because back in World War II, 1930s, 1940s, in England, they had a place where people could help out with the war effort by cracking the codes of the Nazis. So in England, they had this place that was called Bletchley Park, and they needed a lot of people to crack codes. And cracking codes, you need to be really smart. You need to have a very logical mind, a very mathematical mind, and not everyone has that. So they were having trouble finding enough people to help out with the war effort. So what they would do is they put puzzles in the newspapers all over England and said, if you can solve this puzzle, come help us with the war effort by cracking codes. And so people all over England were working on it, and some of them cracked the codes, and they were asked to help. And there was people from all over. You could be in the military, you could be a gardener, you could be a cook, you could be just a homemaker, someone taking care of kids or streets or anything. But if you could solve the codes, then you could help out with the war effort. So this was a long time before I was born. This was happening in around 1930s, 1940s. I was born in 1958. But I was wondering after September 11th if there was something like that, if I could help. And so I asked a few times, and they said no. And then they said, well, what do you know about? And I said, well, about all these codes. And they said, we've been hearing rumors that the people who did the September 11th attack, Al-Qaeda, might have been using codes to plan the attacks. And maybe you could come in and you could teach us about codes. So I went in and I talked to the FBI and the CIA and postal inspectors and attorney general and all kinds of people and taught them about codes. So we are, from the position of the photographer, we are approximately in front of the CIA's cafeteria. And the cafeteria has windows, and looking out the windows, you see the sculpture Cryptos. Behind Cryptos, that building, that's the new headquarters building. Okay. And so they commissioned art to go around this new headquarters building, and one of them was this sculpture, which if you look at the picture, and you don't even need to zoom around, but if you look at the fourth line from the bottom and you see a question mark followed by the letters OBKR. Class, see it?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so from there, those 4 lines from the OBKR down to the bottom, that's 97 different letters, and I can't tell you what it says. It's one of the most famous unsolved codes in the world.